Hey everybody, I'm Neal Tucker, the host of the How to Start a Business and Keep Going Even When It's Hard podcast. Today, episode 1, we are going to talk about one of my new favorite books, Skip the Line. Skip the Line is written by James Altucher, and it's about the 10,000 experiments rule and other surprising advice for reaching your goals. Now, I read a lot. I read a lot of self-improvement books, business development books, entrepreneurship books. But one thing that sticks out about Skip the Line is that this advice is hard-won, as he points out throughout the book, from his own experience. This is chock full of amazing insights and practical advice for not just starting, but running a business. It's one of the best books that I could come up with for the first episode of this series, of this podcast, because it is all about starting and running a business, even when it's hard. And he talks about that a lot, about how many times he himself even went broke after even something really successful, and then having reached the pinnacle of success and then having gone all the way back down into the valley, because that can happen. And that is part of the journey of entrepreneurship and starting and running a business. Without further ado, let's get into Skip the Line by James Altucher. All right, now, James Altucher's book, God, I could do a whole podcast about it. Not just an episode, but like you could do a whole podcast just on it. And he does have a podcast, by the way, the James Altucher Show. I keep saying his name that way. I'm probably butchering it. Could be Altucher, could be Altucher. I really don't know. And so, James, if you're listening to this episode, and I hope you are, I'm very sorry for messing up your name. And maybe if you want, you can come on the show and tell me how to say it. All right, what I want to do today is, like I said, there's so much in this book. I'm not going to have time to, in the space of one episode, to go through the entire book. But what I want to do is go through just three of the biggest things, the biggest key takeaways from this book, okay? The first one is what I'm going to call the no-cost, high-reward principle. He doesn't exactly use that language in the book, but it's essentially the idea that he talks about the 10,000 experiments rule, and the idea behind that is this principle of try to find ideas, come up, and we're going to talk about, that's the second thing we're going to talk about actually, is the 10 ideas. And then the third one is called spoken wheel. But the thing that I want to talk about first is that the principle of the no cost, high reward. Try to come up with, James says throughout the book, he says, try to, as often as possible, come up with ways that you can experiment in business or in life. It doesn't really matter what area it's in. It could be with your diet, it could be with fitness, it could be with relationships, but it applies extremely well to entrepreneurship and to the world of business. He talks about the idea of running 10,000 experiments before you may reach the one that works. And life is too short to run 10,000 experiments that are going to take you 10 years apiece, or that are going to cost you $10,000 to run. So instead, James's idea is try to come up with ideas that don't have much of a barrier to entry, okay? You may not necessarily know how, let's say you have an idea for an app. You may not know how to code an app, but you can run a series of experiments that are no or very low cost, such as James talks about running a Facebook or Instagram ad or a TikTok ad, running an ad that advertises, that promotes the idea of this app, okay, whatever the app idea might be. Let's say that you have an app idea for, and I know these already exist, this is just off the top of my head, dog walkers or cat sitters or something, okay? You came up with this idea for this app and you don't even have the app yet. You just want to see if there's interest in it. Just run an ad and see if you can get signups to that email, to an email campaign, a newsletter that is going to give people information about the app. See if you can get some kind of pre-registration or pre-install, something. You can come up with a way of doing it. You can even just run a clicks campaign to see if people actually even click on the ad. What this does is it gives you an idea of whether the idea itself actually has any traction. And that is the whole idea behind the no cost, high reward. Because you haven't put a whole lot of money or time into running this ad campaign, and you haven't even built the app yet. Maybe you haven't even built the app yet. But there's an infinite reward essentially that could come from it. You could make a lot of money from this app. You could end up employing a bunch of people as dog walkers or cat sitters, just for one example. Okay, so that's an idea that he talks about throughout the book that I have already started to implement and to put into practice. And one of the things he talks about too is even something like a social media account, starting a new social media account. There's no cost there. Starting a new podcast, very little cost. Starting a YouTube channel, very low cost. A lot of these are free. You don't need anything to do these. You have enough tech, as people always say now, on your phone to do any of this stuff. And there are free apps and free services from Spotify and from YouTube and from all of these different, and TikTok. You can start a new TikTok channel and just see if people are interested in this topic that you want to talk about, whatever it might be. If you are really into, I'm just, for whatever, I don't know, I'm thinking about dogs and cats a lot right now. You're super into, maybe you're a vet and you just want to talk about your life. I know that I've come across TikTok videos of vets and people that groomers, dog groomers, and people of that sort, and cat groomers and things. And it's the cost of entry is so small. But if it takes off, the value that you could have is essentially infinite. So that's the very first principle that I wanted to go into, is the idea of the 10,000 experiments rule that he talks about in the subtitle. But really, I wanted to put it into something that doesn't feel quite so large, something that is tangible right now, something that you can do right now. That's one of the things that I want this podcast to be about, is that you can take something away from every single episode. Lots of things away from every single episode, hopefully, but that you have at least a couple of things out of every episode that you can pause the episode and go do. After the episode's over, you can do it. You can do it while you're listening to this episode. You can write down an idea, or 10, which is what we're about to get to. You can write down an idea for a no cost or very low cost, very high reward experiment that you can do. Whether, again, that's in your life or in your business, or creating a new business. Okay? So that's the first idea. No cost or low cost, high reward. Okay? Try to think of that. No cost, high reward. The second thing that I just cannot stop thinking about, and something that I've been practicing since I got to this part in the book, and actually I may have started even earlier because I was flipping through the book at Barnes & Noble. I got this book at our local Barnes & Noble here in LA, and I was flipping through and I saw this 10 ideas thing, and I thought, man, that's so cool. And so here's what James says. Every single day, write down a list of 10 ideas. 10 ideas. It can be an idea for business. Okay, so we can go back to the app idea. Let's say you want to come up with 10 ideas for apps that you can start. You can do that right now while you're listening to me. Okay, you can or pause it or whatever, or wait till the podcast episode is over. But 10 ideas for apps that you could start right now. In fact, if you're having trouble thinking of, I don't know what else I could do 10 ideas about, do that. Okay, there you go. There's your freebie from James. Write down 10 ideas for an app that you could potentially start. Okay, again, remember, keeping in mind, and this is why I actually started with the no cost, high reward principle first, keeping in mind that these don't have to be things that you know about. Okay, they don't have to be anything that you have an expertise in. They don't have to be anything that you have a master's degree in. They could be apps about machine learning or artificial intelligence. You don't have to have a degree in that. Okay, you don't have to study at Harvard or MIT or Caltech or something to know how to do these things. All you need is the idea. Okay, and people say ideas are a dime a dozen, and that's actually a good way to remember your dime a dozen ideas every single day. 10 cents, 10 ideas. Write down 10 ideas for anything at all. Okay, anything at all. One of the first ideas lists I did, because I was just on a walk right after I had read some part of the book, Skip the Line, and I was just walking around. I was going, okay, what's something that I can do 10 ideas list about right now? Okay, 10 ideas, 10 ways to improve street parking in Los Angeles. And if you live in LA or you live in a big city, you know how awful street parking can be. So I'm like, okay, let me see if I can come up with 10 ideas for how to improve street parking. The first maybe 2 or 3 come fairly easily. 4 and 5 you get to, and then the last 5 can be hard. So if you're doing that right now, if you're writing down 10 podcast ideas or 10 app ideas or 10 ways to improve parking in your city, whatever that is, know that it's normal, because I've been doing this now since I started reading the book. I've been doing 10 ideas a day pretty much every day. I will admit, I think there may have been at least one day I've forgotten. But writing down those ideas, the first half will come a lot easier than the second half. Traditionally, at least in my experience, I've only been doing this for a little while now, but in my experience, that's been the case. But I've also done more than one list a day. On some days I'll do 2, 3, 4 lists, because I just keep coming up with ideas for a specific topic or a way to implement a business or anything at all. And then I go, okay, that's an idea. I wonder if I can come up with 9 more. So the next time that you come up with, oh, this is a really cool idea for whatever, see if you can come up with a couple more, and then a couple more, and then a couple more. And before you know it, you're at 10. That's the next big thing, all right? Think of every single day, write these down. If you've got an iPhone or a smartphone, Android, whatever of some kind, you've got a notes app. James talks about actually getting if you're a waiter or a server at a restaurant, just like a waiter's pad. That's what he was using. Whatever it is that you want to write these things down in. I like to do it in the notes app on my phone because, man, I don't know what I would do without my notes app. It's like it's got to be one of the most used apps on my phone. I've got games, and I've got sports apps, and I've got YouTube and TikTok. But then my notes app, which is one of the simplest apps in the whole world, so I use all the freaking time. I don't know if you're like that too or not, but if you are, you're not alone. And if you are, maybe, I don't know, shoot me a message, because we can do a club. People who love the notes app. All right, that's a tangent that I did not intend to go on. All right, so first idea was no cost, high reward, or low cost, high reward. Second idea is coming up with 10 ideas every single day. And then the last thing, and this is taken straight from the book, he talks about the spoke and wheel. Okay, the spoke and wheel method, or he says, or how to monetize anything. Okay, the spoke and wheel, or how to monetize anything. And it's interesting, the example that he gives, and I'll explain what the spoke and wheel is in a second. He talks about originally, and I as a huge Disney nerd myself, I want to look into more of the background story behind this, because it's really fascinating. He talks about how Walt Disney, when he started his first, and this is 2023, by the way, so this is if you're a Disney nut like myself, a Disney a Disney adult like myself and my wife, you'll know that this is the 100-year anniversary of Disney starting the Walt Disney Company. This 1923 is considered the sort of inception of the beginning of Walt Disney as we know it, the company. But what he talks about is how he got started with his first company, what is the name of the company? Laugh something. But he came up with that first business and animation, and he was doing Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, not the one we know, but an earlier version, and some other things, and couldn't get it off the ground, was losing money. And at some point in the 30s, I think it was in the 30s, late 20s or early 30s, mid 30s, Walt decided to sell watches with Mickey Mouse on it. After he'd created Mickey, he decided, let's see if we can make some merch out of this, some merchandise. And it took off and was apparently one of the biggest watch sellers in the country, maybe the world, I don't know. I can't remember what James says there, but one of the biggest watch manufacturers, one of the biggest watch sellers at least in the country. And that is what allowed him to make enough money so that he could start making more movies. And one of my favorite Walt Disney quotes is, I don't make movies to make money, I make money to make more movies. I love that quote. I don't make movies to make money. I make money so that I can make more movies. That is, in a way, another way of saying, if you love your work, if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. It's that kind of thing that if you can find something that you love so much that you're not doing the job to make money, you're making money so almost in a way so that you can do that job. And that's pretty cool. And of course, in entertainment, and Walt Disney has made such a huge impact, and the Walt Disney Company has made such an impact on entertainment globally for the last 100 years. So that story being told, and again, that's a story James writes about in the book, epitomizes the spoke and wheel method, or how to monetize anything. The Walt Disney Company, him getting started and creating Mickey Mouse and telling and creating these animated movies, that was the spoke. That was the center, okay? Or that was the center of the wheel, rather. Okay, that's the center of the wheel. And then all these spokes go off other ways to monetize that same central idea. And the central idea is, let's call it Mickey Mouse. Off of that are all these other things. Okay, so from Mickey, we've got the animated shorts, Steamboat Willie. We've got the watches. Okay, now of course today, the theme parks, the books, and everything else that has come from this central idea. So if you combine all three of these ideas that I've talked about today, you start with no cost or low cost, high reward. Come up with 10 no cost, high reward business ideas. So consider this your homework, okay? Consider this your homework. If you want some, if you don't, fine, whatever. Consider this a thought experiment at the very least, okay? If you want to put these ideas into practice, try to come up with 10 right now, 10 ideas for businesses that you can start that are either $0 to get started or, I don't know, to be arbitrary, $100 or less, okay? Each one of these businesses. Very low cost businesses, but that have potentially extremely high reward, okay? Like the dog walking and cat sitting app that we talked about at the beginning, okay? If those were to take off, of course you'd make a lot of money. But think of a way that you can start those businesses without having to spend any money at all, or maybe, like I was saying, maybe $100 or something, okay? And as the owner of a marketing agency, I can tell you, you can run a clicks campaign for way less than $100, okay? If you're just trying to get clicks to see if people are interested, not a conversion campaign, not trying to sell anything, you're just trying to see if people are interested in this idea and seeing if people are clicking and who is clicking and all that kind of good stuff. You can do that for way less than $100. All right. So that's the first thing. Come up with these 10 ideas. Now, for each of those 10 ideas, see if you can come up with, you don't have to do 10 ideas for each of the 10, although that would be pretty cool. See if you can come up with a couple of other things, other spokes for that wheel. Okay. Let's say that your first idea is the dog walking app. Okay, and that's that you want to try to run a clicks campaign on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, and see if people are interested. Okay, so that's your first idea. That's the center of that's the hub of the wheel. But what are the spokes? What are some other things that you could do? Okay, we talked about an offshoot of that particular app, the dog walking app. Maybe the branding is so interesting or fun that people want to wear it as merch. Merch is merchandising is a really natural extension, especially in America, where we can get really passionate about certain brands. I know I can. I gushed about Disney a minute ago. And so merchandise could be a way to go. Maybe if it's not shirts or something, maybe people want to buy dog leashes or dog collars, things like that. That's That's one spoke right off the bat. Okay. Maybe another thing is a book about how best to take care of your pets at home, your dogs at home. Okay, so now we already have two spokes. We've got the hub of the wheel, which is the dog walking app, and then right off of that, you've got this idea for selling dog leashes, dog collars, maybe even t-shirts for people to wear, maybe dog clothing, and then you've got maybe a book about how best to take care of your dogs and cats at home. And you can just keep going, okay? There's all sorts of ideas for ways that you could monetize this. You could turn it into a newsletter. You could turn it into a blog. There are so many different things that you can do that allow you to essentially monetize anything, whether that thing is already monetized or not, okay? And an example of something you could start that's zero cost and potentially monetize is just a TikTok, okay? TikTok is going nuts right now. TikTok is huge and has been for a while, but it's still crazy enough. Not everybody's on there yet. It's just wild. I'm a millennial. I'm in my 30s, and I'm telling you, people my age, still not everyone is really like fully embracing TikTok yet. And so it's interesting to me how, even though it's huge, how it still has room to grow, and there's still a lot that can be done. And YouTube's the same way. YouTube's been around forever, but you can still create a successful YouTube channel. So one of the things that you could do is you could start a TikTok, right? And then you can repurpose that content onto Instagram, or you could repurpose it onto YouTube or anything else, okay? One thing, here's another example, if you want more from this podcast, right? There are other things that are going to be coming out here in the coming weeks that will give you other ways of engaging with the content in these podcasts, such as visiting our website, or we're going to be launching a newsletter soon, things like that, things that you can do to get even more information and to get even more out of it, to enrich your life even more. Okay? So, quick summary, quick recap. Tell your audience what you're going to say it, and then tell them what you said. Just trying to follow some public speaking rules right now. Number one, no cost, high reward, or at least low cost, high reward. Okay? Second, 10 ideas every single day. Write them down in your notes app, write them down on a waiter's pad, your Moleskine, whatever it is, on a sticky note, on your calendar. It doesn't matter where you put them, just 10 ideas. And keep in mind, they can be crap ideas. They do not have to be good ideas. In fact, if you come up, he talks about this in the book, if you come up with 10 ideas a day for 365 days a year, that's 3,650 ideas. You really think they're all going to be home runs? No, they're not. And I can tell you from doing it myself that not all ideas are created equal, okay? You come up with all 10 and you go, one of those might be good, maybe. And then the next day you come up with another 10, you go, one of those might be good, maybe. So don't worry if you feel like all 10 of them are just trash. Do not worry about it, because that's not even the main point, is not to come up with 10 home run ideas. The main point is to exercise that creative muscle. And eventually you will come up with something really cool. If you come up with 10 ideas for how to improve someone else's business, see if you can find someone in that business. I've done that myself, and I've gotten emails back, and it's really cool. You're not trying to get anything in return. This is not about trying to game the system or out-hustle someone. That's not what it's about at all. It's about trying to work the creative muscle, trying to improve yourself, self-improvement. He talks about improving 1% a day, which I know can be difficult to think of how do I quantify 1% improvement a day? I'm telling you, if you come up with 10 ideas every single day, you are improving your creative muscle at least 1% every single day. And that stuff, that's compound interest, okay? You're just going to keep on growing. I promise. I know from the things that I've done where I just practice a little bit every day, whether it's piano or whether it's learning a new language, whatever it might be, just 1% a day. Cooking, whatever it is. I'm not a cook, but thankfully my wife is. She's a fantastic baker, but I'm not, okay? But when she practices cooking or baking or whatever it is, she does it improving 1% a day. And if that's your thing, 1% a day, right? If you want to go to the gym, improving 1% a day, getting stronger, 1% a day, okay? But with the ideas, you're improving that creative muscle every single day. And that's really cool. If you decide to do that, please hit me up on the socials at The Copywriterly. That's the name of my marketing agency, The Copywriterly. Yeah, I know, it's a mouthful. It's sort of like the title of this podcast. It's a mouthful. I apparently that's my thing. I just want to come up with the longest title possible, something no one will ever remember, to make it completely unmarketable. No, I'm joking. But yeah, anyway. So number one, no cost or low cost, high reward. Number two, come up with the 10 ideas. And number three, spoken wheel. See if you can take those ideas from the second point, those 10 ideas that are no cost, high reward or low cost, high reward. See if you can come up with a few other ways that you might be able to monetize on top of whatever that main idea is. Okay? So if you enjoyed this podcast, and I hope that you did, please let me know. Reach out to me on all the socials. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, all those things. It'll be in the show notes. So if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or wherever you are, you'll be able to see it in the show notes. And you can click there. You can also go to our Solo 2 page, sort of like link in bio or Linktree, solo.to, solo.to/copywriterly. Okay, you can get all of our links there. That might be the easiest way to do it. And again, that's all going to be in the show notes, so you don't have to go hunting for it. And if you are running a business now, or you want to, and this is the shameless self-plug that's going to come come into play here right at the end of the episode. If you're running a business and you want some help trying to get it off the ground, or maybe you've been running a business for years and you're struggling, or you've had success and you want to continue to see it grow, reach out to me. Okay, my email is neal@copywriterly.com, Neal. I spell it like Shaq, like Shaquille O'Neal. Neal at copywriterly, copywriterly.com, or just at me on any of the socials. You can schedule a free consultation with me or someone else on my team, completely free, no strings attached. We don't do hard sells. We just don't believe in it. You can reach out to us and we can give you a free consultation. We'll do a free audit of all of your socials or anything else you want us to look at, your website, your Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok ads, whatever it is. Just let us know. And we'd be happy to take a look at that for you and see if maybe it's a good fit. Or if it's not, maybe we can find someone else. We know tons of people in marketing that maybe we can find someone else that would be able to help you too. Because for us, we don't see it as a competition. We just want to help people as much as we possibly can. Guys, that is everything. Please rate and review if that's what you do. It goes a long way, especially for a brand new podcast like this one. If you could give me 5 stars and just say, enjoyed it, or whatever. Look, another podcast, 5 stars. Whatever it is that you want to say, anything that you say. So if you give me a 5-star rating, it would go so far toward helping other people find this podcast and helping the podcast to grow. So that would be incredible. And if you want to share it on social media, please do. That would be incredible as well. So again, you can find me on all the socials, at the Copywriterly for most of them, or you can just go to our Solo 2 page. You can go to our website, www.copywriterly.com, and you can find out all sorts of information about all the different marketing services that we offer to help people just like you get your business either started, off the ground, or keep it going. Our primary niche is in the event space, but we have clients in just about every niche you can possibly imagine. But if you're running an event, we are your people. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Thank you so much, guys, and have a wonderful day.